Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm Dr. Kelly Watkins. I'm a forensic psychologist and psychotherapist. But today I want to dive into a topic that so many people ask me about is about forensic psychology. So I want to explore what it actually is, to maybe bust some common myths about it. If you ever wondered if it's like Criminal Minds or Mindhunter, I'm gonna share some of the questions and hopefully bust some of these common myths. So let's get into it. First up, forensic psychology, what is it? So it's basically where psychology, I suppose, meets the legal system. So it's the application of psychological principles, theories, models, questions, issues, but it's related to the law and criminal justice. So it can be really, really varied. So it could be about assessing if someone is fit to stand trial. It can also be about conducting like risk assessments to estimate the chance of reoffending. So this could be before someone goes to court or to prison. It could be when someone is in prison and they're trying to get parole, so they're trying to get released. And it can also be working with the victims of crime or the impact of crime on other people. So it's not always about working with the perpetrators. It can even be about providing expert witness or expert testimony in court. But it can also be about delivering treatment. So with the treatment, that could be around mental health difficulties. It could be to do with personality traits. It could be to do with trauma. It could be about offending or certain types of offending, and obviously delivering those interventions. So whether it is designing, delivering, or evaluating interventions. So it is really quite varied, I suppose, in what we do. But what it isn't, so it's not CSI. I've been asked many times that kind of if I kind of work with crime scenes. No, I don't. I also don't have a psychic ability to read minds. I don't chase people who have offended through dark alleyways or try to decode secret language that you might see on TV and films. Instead, it's very much grounded in theory, in evidence, in psychological models. A lot of evaluations is evidence-based, and there is a lot of paperwork, but it's still something that I really enjoy. So, in terms of thinking about what a typical day looks like, and I've done a video about this, about a day in the life of a forensic psychologist, but it's really, really varied. And it depends on what area that you work in, whether you work in custody, whether you work in the community, whether you work in prisons, whether you work in secure hospitals, whether you work in maybe certain schools, whether you work in private practice. So yeah, it's really varied, and it can be a mixture of working with individuals. So it could be about doing clinical interviews, it could be about doing risk assessments, it could be about reviewing offence records or police records or medical records. It could be about conducting different psychological tests. So that could be about looking at people's maybe neurodiversity. It could be looking about intelligence or IQ level. Or it could be about writing really detailed reports, attending meetings, whether that is with an individual who's offended, the victim, multi-agency. I could be in court or I could be at parole boards, but it's so varied. But I think it's probably a lot less glamorous than what you see on the TV, but I think it's still just as important. So then I wanted to talk about some of the questions that I get asked about forensic psychology. And there are a few that often crop up at dinner parties, kind of outside of work, when you tell them what you do. So one of the questions I often get asked is if I can tell someone is lying just by looking at them. And unfortunately not, so sorry to disappoint with that. And I think that when you are looking at someone who is perhaps not telling the truth, it requires a lot of evidence, it requires testing, and it's not just about reading someone's face or their body language. Then I think often get asked, how many serial killers have I met, or how many murderers have I met? And I think people just have an interest in that, and I can't answer that question, but it's something that comes up a lot. Often people ask about the mental health of people in prison. I'm not going to kind of use the questions I often get asked, but I think that it's really important to understand that a lot of people who do end up offending have some mental health challenges, have trauma histories. Not everyone has maybe a diagnosable, if you want to work in the diagnostic manual criteria, a diagnosable mental health difficulty. But in England, there are a lot of people in prisons, and there are not always the right or adequate assessments. So even if the media reports, or you've heard that there's so many people with mental health difficulties, or I've even had questions about people being untruthful about having a mental health problem because they think it gets them out of prison, but that's not the case. It's a really complex picture, and it's not a cause and effect by any means, but it is something that I think a lot of people misunderstand and see that some people have really, really difficult upbringings or just throughout their life, and offending sometimes can be a way out. It can be sometimes linked to that, so it's something that isn't really easy to quantify, but it's just a really complex landscape, really. Then I often get asked if I only work with kind of people that have an offending history, and no, it is really working with a wide range of people. So it could be families, it could be the victims, and again, I'm aware that some people don't like the phrase victims, but people that may have been a victim of crime. It could be about the staff, so prison staff, probation staff, and also within the legal system itself. So it's not just limited to people who have an offending history. So why does forensic psychology matter? And I think that forensic psychology plays a crucial role in making the criminal justice system fairer and safer, and you could argue the society as a whole. It helps to make informed evidence-based decisions and assessments about risk, rehabilitation and treatment, and it also advocates for trauma-informed care and supports those that are impacted by crime, so both the people with an offending history and the victims of crime alike. And I think understanding the psychology behind behaviour means that we can work towards better outcomes, and it's not just about punishment anymore, thankfully. But I hope that we're moving in a positive direction, and I hope that kind of we continue to work in that, how we understand people differently to what we did years ago. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this helpful. Please like and subscribe, and if you've got any questions about forensic psychology, then please drop them in the comments, because I love hearing from you, and it could maybe give me an idea for the next video that I can do. So thank you so much, take care, and I'll see you next time.